Hi, my name is Jeff Willinger, Jay Willie on Twitter, and I am super excited to be here on the floor of the European SharePoint, Office 365, and Azure Conference, ESPC19. And once again, I'm here at Happy Hour, and once again, I have a new guest today. And if you don't recognize him, also known as the beard of the SharePoint world, Benjamin Niaulin. Ben, thanks so much for joining me, and cheers.
No problem. Cheers.
You know, let's play a little drinking game, Ben.
Whoa.
That's what you get when you live stream. Our drinking game will be every time I say the word SharePoint, migrate, or Yammer, we have to take a drink.
Wow, that's going to be dangerous.
All right. So, Ben, tell everybody what you're up to these days.
I mean, we're definitely looking a lot towards what's happening in the productivity space and the cloud infrastructure as well with Azure, but quite a bit on Office 365, trying not to say the big word, trying to see everything happening, the changes, trying to guide everyone along towards what Microsoft's vision is to that modern workplace.
Do you guys, I always, when I think about companies like ShareGate, I think, how often do you have conversations with Microsoft on what's next? I mean, you know,
every 2 weeks.
Okay, every 2 weeks.
We have bi-weekly meetings where they share a lot of their roadmaps, where they're going, things that they're working on. So every 2 weeks, usually there's a call. We hop on, we try to give feedback and see what's going on. And same thing on our product side as well for everything that's around moving people to the new version of that collaboration area.
What's it called, Ben?
Yeah.
SharePoint.
Yeah, right.
Now, my beer started more than yours, so, you know, and the audience will be able to see as I'm drinking. Ben's is in a can, so we can't really tell. So, Ben, we go back pretty far. In fact, I just, as I texted you a picture of us today, I found that picture from, I don't know, 2012?
Oh, I don't even remember.
We were in New Zealand together,
yes,
playing a super fun game at one of these productivity conferences.
Yes, absolutely.
And when I initially met you, I was always sort of enamored with the content that you curate, because putting together these workshops, and you were really, to me, even though you didn't realize it, like, I looked to you to see what you're up to when it came to Office 365. And even before there was Office 365, when it was literally just SharePoint.
Yeah.
I looked to you to see what was next. And tell me, where do you come up with some of the content? And maybe you could share with the audience some best practices when it comes to, first, how to, you know, engagement adoption, but then I want to maybe hear one or two migration strategies as well.
Wasn't that a word?
That is one of the words.
Yeah, so talking about figuring out what to talk about, or what were the next blog post and so on, I always try to focus on the desired outcome that I think people want to get. I think one of the mistakes that I did early on was to focus on the features and try to talk about the feature that existed. So maybe there was a new thing that came out, and then and I see like a session title on that specific feature. When the reality is, if when I go to conference and I'm looking at sessions in a session list, I'm really looking at what's going to get me where I want to be, right? I have a job, I'm trying to achieve something, so I have a desired outcome. There's a book that I found really helpful called Jobs to be Done, very short book, and it helps you focus on what is the job that people are trying to get done.
And it doesn't matter what industry,
Jobs
to be done.
Jobs to be done is a framework to research, essentially, and to find out if you keep building a hammer and you keep adding features to your hammer, a better grip, better whatever wood.
Mallet,
but ultimately, what is people's job to be done is to put up a shelf in the house.
Right, hammer, get the nails in.
So, but if you focus on the jobs to be done, you'll realize that maybe they didn't need a better and better hammer. What they needed was a shelf that can easily be set without a hammer.
Ooh.
So it's really about focusing on what are people trying to get done, and then you can craft a title that works with that.
I absolutely love that. You know who else loves that? My man Shane over here. Shane actually has been learning a lot from my interviews, I think. Yesterday when we had Scott Hanselman on, Scott talked about getting more done in short periods of time. And what he does is he does these sprints. He calls it the Pomodoro. It's not his.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Right, the
Pomodoro.
Red
Tomato.
Yes.
Yeah, of course. You got to
I'm learning a
focus.
lot. Exactly.
What's tough is for people to focus on one task and
You
getting
are
it done.
spot on. I think that we live in a day of distractions, natural
Yeah.
distractions. Usually it comes from our smartphone, but it also comes from just people watching and
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
the
You need to
sunshine.
focus on people's desired outcome. You need to be able to focus on one task, and you need to research nowadays. You can't. We don't have the freedom of just trying things. Things are moving very quickly. Technology is changing very quickly. So you need to make educated bets on the next thing you're doing. So I don't have the luxury of, oh, what's going to be the next thing that we can build? We have to research, we have to A/B test, we have to prototype, so that when we get to investing on building whatever it is, because investing comes in many forms. It's the workshop you're going to build. It's the name of your session that's going to be
Yes.
accepted. So when you're going to craft session titles, I often start out with tweets, right? So I'll put a tweet with a certain word and a link to the blog post. Then I'll later on tweet again to that blog post, but with a different title in my tweet, different words, and see which one had more engagement, which one had more people talking, which one people clicked on more. I learned that will become the actual blog title, which may even become a session title.
That is super interesting in that I could take it one step further, depending upon what time of day you tweet also.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not trying to craft the best in the world.
Okay.
You're just trying to make
See what's going to
testing
engage
as much as possible. Yeah.
Right. And
Before you do the big investment of whatever it is. Like even if you're building a workshop, it's a lot of investment on your part
It
of
is.
time
Yes.
to build it. Whatever it is, a session is a lot of investment of your time. What do people want to hear? How can you make sure that that's what they want to hear? And that goes across all things that you do, right? We're talking here about sessions for us, but even if you're at the office and you want to get something approved, you have to make sure that you make those steps in the same way.
So let's get back to some of the kind of productivity tips
Yep.
when it comes to internal communications and some practices that maybe even some of our viewers could actually take back tomorrow when they get back to the office and use.
Sure. Well, first, 60% of all internal communications are not measured. And I don't have where the stat comes from. It's in my session slides. I forget. I believe it was in either Gartner or another analyst
Forrester or something,
company.
sure.
Yeah. And essentially, just people put out communications. And doesn't matter the technology, to email, communication sites, it doesn't matter. What we're talking about is we have a strategy to communicate, but we're not measuring whether we're successful with it. So you sent it out. How many open did you get in the emails? How many clicks? What title worked best? And that's some of the things I do internally as well, is I send out the communication once to a group of the people, and did they open it or not? And then maybe I'll try changing the title so that it will work better, and I'll try it with different things. So that's definitely my biggest tip, is if 60% of us don't measure whether or not what we just put out is adopted, is received, is used, is consumed, then that's the first problem you should tackle.
Measure.
Yes.
And then iterate.
Yes. Just test it out. And your SharePoint
It's getting a little bit parched there.
is never going to be perfect if you wait for it to be perfect. You're never going to achieve.
And what really is perfection when it comes to that anyway? I mean,
But we have this thing where I can see this all the time, where people are waiting for their SharePoint to be even better before they give it to everybody else. I think I said the word again.
you did.
But essentially, just test it out, put something out. It can be just one site. Test the title of it, test the pages, test the news digest, whatever it is. Test it out. Does it work? Does it stick? Iterate. What works, what doesn't.
Again, spot on with this nirvana of an intranet and what the client is hoping to achieve.
Yes.
I mean, why are they doing it to begin with? You know, I've talked to a number of folks today, and the one thing that kind of kept on coming through was this idea of build it and they will come and make it look really pretty means nothing, right?
Those days we don't live in the same world anymore.
In
We
fact,
live in a connected SaaS world. People can go get whatever they want all the time.
I think the future of this whole intranet thing, and I'm trying, you know, as much as I love, my passion is user experience. I don't think you knew that. Just because something looks really pretty doesn't mean it's easy to use. I mean, we both travel quite a bit for work, and, you know, we're booking a lot of our tickets on our phones.
Yeah.
And we're doing it, you know, as quickly as possible. And then we're in airports. We're looking for an exit sign. We're looking if we checked our baggage.
Yeah.
You know, all these different things. Our user experience every day hits us. And yet when I give a statement of work to a client and they look at it and they see design, I don't know, 200-300 hours, user experience 200 to 300 hours, they're like, well, you have the design. Let's take out the UX, or let's cut it in half.
Oh my goodness.
And I always say, Ben, you could probably relate to this. You could pay me now or you could pay me later, because it's got to be easy to use. I look at Amazon, not the prettiest site in the world, but I got to tell you, it definitely
it hits on the user experience.
Yes,
It's actually
exactly.
often an example cited in terms of user experience. The recommendations, the one-click buy and it's done, all these little things that make up a good user experience for sure.
When it comes to that, so what I see the future being is almost like that competition to Bing, the one that starts with a G.
Yeah.
A beautiful white space with a big search bar and then a chat bot. Maybe
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 I think
two
you're
different.
even thinking about the solution already. We don't know, right? That's
Maybe
what's
two
tough.
chat bots, one HR, but again, then we were like,
Everything can change. That's the. I think what I do believe is that people are going to focus on making things personalized and making it as simple as possible. I 100% agree. How it's going to come, I have no idea. I just know that today we have a lot of data, right? Everyone's starting to look into AI. We cannot build one thing that's going to work for everyone anymore.
Yes.
So with all the data that
this
we
idea
have,
of one size fits all.
what we're going to see next, it's a lot more personalized experience. When you get to your mobile banking app, you checking your watch there? Should I wait a little bit?
No, I'm good.
When you check your mobile app, I expect the next iteration of these would be personalized suggestions based on you and your bank account. Do you have one account? Is it zero? Should we tell you that it's zero? So I think the difference next will be how do we simplify and make it personable, for sure.
Having that personalized experience, knowing that you're in Montreal and I'm in LA, and serving me up Canadian content as opposed to US content.
Absolutely.
If you guys are having some kind of picnic in Montreal, I don't need to know that in LA. I'll be like, hey, how come we're not having a picnic in LA?
Yeah,
And you'd be like, well, because your
We're
weather
having a
is always
snowstorm.
better. Yes, exactly. And we're having fries, what is that fries?
poutine.
Poutine.
Yeah, you have to get a poutine.
You could tell I don't eat much poutine. I'm not a big gravy guy. I do like melted cheese on anything, but I'm not a big gravy guy.
Fries, gravy, melted cheese.
It's good.
It's
and
delicious.
migrations.
Oh.
Talk to me about, Ben, you're in the migration business, among other things. What do clients need to know before they take this on? I mean, the biggest thing that I see is on-prem to the cloud. I mean, it's, and I'm guessing you guys see the same thing.
This 100%. I mean, I look at my data of a couple thousand different organizations a week that are using our products. I see the telemetry, and it's pretty much all going to Office 365. In fact, if I separate on-prem migrations to Office 365 and Office 365 migrations to Office 365, the source that is people migrating from Office 365 to Office 365 is actually growing very rapidly. So we're going to see a lot more mergers and acquisitions, reorganizing, restructuring to adopt new things like the modern experiences and so on.
Yes. That has been a popular project for me as well.
We're definitely seeing that quite a bit.
And what should clients be thinking about? Sort of like when you're moving your house, you want to sort of get rid of the old stuff
So
if
we've
you can.
done a lot of research.
Audits.
So I actually have the answer to that question. What we've seen and the research that we've shown, people, this is the journey essentially. They prepare for their first migration.
Yep.
They want to... Oh, this time it was me. They prepare. They want to make sure that it's going to go as fast as possible with the least amount of business impact or errors as possible.
Yep.
So they do analysis, they do checking, they do inventories. What do they have? What do they need to bring? And then the second phase is moving. They move everything to Office 365. And again, they're validating, they're checking, they're making sure everything's okay. Once they get to Office 365, the second journey happens where they realize that they're overwhelmed because now they don't just have one product. They have teams. They have all these other products that are scaling, groups. And so they turn off everything. that's the second step, if you will. And lastly, I call the second big migration, or the second migration, is going from classic to modern and top-down
Yes.
subsites to flat, to be able to adopt this new way of work. And that's the modern workplace that Microsoft calls, or the intelligent intranet, whatever buzzword
Sure.
this week.
I love that you talked about modern versus classic. What have you, and so you guys get to see sort of,
Yeah.
what people are doing, and that's kind of a big thing, what people
Absolutely.
are doing or what's happening.
Absolutely.
I remember when Microsoft introduced Office 365 and everyone's like, whoa, that's in the cloud. We are never going to the cloud. And a lot of companies definitely went kicking and screaming. In fact, I remember companies that were, when Microsoft really kind of kicked off Yammer, there were all sorts of incentives for partners like myself that, to push them into Yammer. We're good.
Yeah.
Push them that way, and they're like, whoa, but it's in the cloud. And I remember all the legal paperwork that had
'cause
to be done.
They were unsure of what
Right.
was going on. What's the risk?
Exactly. And now what I'm seeing out there are some of these security folks, these CISOs they're called. In fact, Alex from Microsoft was on earlier, and that is Alex's task, is Azure and security.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so
Definitely seeing a lot of that, yeah.
what, what's next for you / ShareGate? What do you, obviously we're pivoting nonstop. You're, head of product. What, and what's going to really separate?
It's an interesting question, and we're always looking into it. But essentially, what our company is about is always about guiding IT that are using our products, that are often overwhelmed by all these changes, is to help bring simple products and simple tools to help their life be easier, so that the organization can adopt these new ways of work that they're bringing. So if it is a migration tool to move them to the latest version, that's what we build. Now we're talking a lot about an automated governance, so that they can adopt the vision of Microsoft that's self-service in nature, that allows people to create and use whatever they want, that allows external sharing. We don't want to block. We don't want to create a blocker product. We want to enable that and give that guidance. And so that's our newest product called Apricot that focused on that, but with the vision of Microsoft. And in the Azure space, a lot of it nowadays is tracking and reducing your cost. Because there was the promise of moving to the cloud, but all of a sudden those VMs and everything's going really high. So we created, again, a simple tool to make that task simpler. So that's what we're always about. Tomorrow might be another tool. We're trying to help IT go through these changes as easy as possible.
And this amazing conference that we're at, how have you had some meaningful conversations with some of the folks?
Yeah, this
here?
is one of our absolute favorite conferences, European SharePoint Conference. I've been coming here every year since 2014 in Copenhagen, if I'm not mistaken, and love it. There's tons of people. Europeans have very different challenges. It's always fun to hear the multilingual stuff, what they're trying to achieve here, and absolutely love conversations at the booth. As a vendor is always great to have. So love coming here. And if you're not, because you're watching, you definitely should come next year. I don't know where the city is yet, but I'm sure it'll be really fun.
If they can't come, though, I don't know if you still do these, but SharePoint Saturdays are an amazing way for folks that might not be able to attend these conferences, which are well worth the money. But if you're, a sole practitioner, heading to, I know there's one in Oslo this weekend that Jeff Tiefer's going to be at. And,
I find often what I like about this particular one is that you get a lot of Microsoft product team that shows up.
That's pretty
and
cool.
Some of the benefits
and they listen to you. They listen to you.
Yeah,
they
do listen. They want feedback, so I absolutely love it.
What's that site that you could go to give the Microsoft team...
the user voice.
Yes, the user voice.
Yeah.
What is that? Microsoft.com.
I don't forget. I forget.
It's Microsoft.com/user voice or something along those lines.
I don't know.
All right. I don't know either. But check
just
out, we almost said Google user voice Microsoft. We didn't though. Benjamin, this has been super fun. As expected.
Thank you. SharePoint Migration Yammer.
SharePoint Migration Yammer.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
This is Jeff Willinger, Jay Willie, signing off for this afternoon from this amazing conference, ESPC19, on the conference floor.